that will change your life. So the personal brand insight was really I stumbled into it rather than,
Yeah.
intellectually arrived at it. I was like, this is crazy. I can write a song in my kitchen or in the subway, and then through a series of events, going to the studio, putting together a record, having a record company distributed throughout like 15 different countries, millions of people all of a sudden are consuming this thing that I wrote in my kitchen.
Martians landed.
Yes.
Wearing Prada suits.
Yes.
Drinking Henry Seltzer.
Yes.
Chewing juicy fruit.
Yes, and?
Your branding here.
Yes, brand.
Your message here.
Yes, and?
A verse about
Yes.
your product here.
Yes.
I'm Hirsch Redman.
Yes, and?
I'm a message therapist.
Yes.
And I have a podcast.
Yes, brand.
That's right, that's it.
Yes.
We'll help you fix the world.
Yes.
Or your bottom line.
All right.
Your bottom line.
Get it. I get it. Welcome to the Yes Brand Podcast.
Who is in the hot seat today on Yes Brand? It's Christian Ray Flores. He's a high performance coach. He's had a history in music, in fame, in fact, and a lot of success. Took a evolution into philanthropy, something that still stays with him, and then formed Ascent Academy. But he got his beginnings. It's kind of interesting because your history spans continents. You were a refugee in Chile, became then a pop star in Eastern Europe, launched award-winning media ventures. A lot of things spun off of that. Then became a global philanthropist. Then came to create an academy, and then also to work with Eastern European artists to have a production company helping create content at one point for Eastern European artists. So there's a lot to
Yeah.
cover and a lot to your brand. But thank you so much, Christian. Welcome to the show.
Hirsch, it's a pleasure. I'm really excited to actually have this conversation with you, and especially for the audience, because I know these are hardworking, focused, aspiring, inspirational people who want to just make a difference in the world.
Yeah, very well said, and thank you. And I do think there's a cross section there or an intersection rather, where the people that are taking risks in business, they're entrepreneurs. They know what it's like to deny themselves, so that they can pay their employees or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Um, they seem to have a sense of responsibility beyond the self. And that's always interesting to me. And so, as we kind of wind our way through your brand,
hmm
your Christian Ray Flores brand, as we'll call it, um, tell us about a little bit about your beginnings in Chile and how that shaped you.
The origin story, the ever-present origin story, and I'm glad we're talking about it, not because it's my story is of any importance, but it's because all of our stories are of a lot of importance, right? And mine is just happens to be very strange, like very, very, very strange, and it sort of catches the attention of people. And it's strange because I started my life in Moscow. My mom is Russian, my dad's Chilean, so I don't look Russian at all. I look very Latin.
Yeah.
And then my family moved to Chile, and they were going to be sort of this middle class professional family. My dad, both college educated, my dad's an engineer, and we were going to just live there. And then everything changed. There was a military coup, a bunch of people got killed, tortured, thrown into concentration camps. You can look it up, the coup in 1973. Augusto Pinochet was the dictator who took over. And my dad was one of those people. My mom was in hiding with two kids, and we ended up being lucky because he made it out alive. And we were in a refugee facility, United Nations refugee facility for a while. We got basically asylum in Germany as refugees, and went back to Russia for a bit. Then dad got a contract in Africa. We saw civil war in Africa. Like a year in, a civil war started, and we had a okay life there. We saw a lot of poverty in the Soviet Union, But even by American standards, even Africa was pretty much, we were expats, but like really third country, third world type expats. So like
Yeah.
ration cards for certain foods and things like that. And then it turned again. My parents got divorced, and my sister and I basically ended up going to the Soviet Union with my mom and starting over. One bedroom apartment. I
Wow.
slept in the kitchen. One of those things, right? Single mom in a land of zero opportunity,
Yeah.
So that's sort of the origin story, and it shaped me just like it shapes everybody. Everybody. Mine is pretty just strange and very extreme, I would say, right, comparatively. And then everything changed. We saw the Soviet Union collapse right before our eyes, and again, attempted coup, tanks in the streets, kind of thing. And then all of a sudden, everything is completely, there's chaos and then there's freedom of expression, right? So, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm going to take my chance. And I started doing I had an economics degree. I just had graduated. And most of my friends went into sort of the sure thing kind of career paths
Yeah.
of academia or trade or finance. And I was just very musical. I danced and sang, and I'm like, I'm going to give this a try. I'm in my 20s. Let's give it a try. And I was just very lucky, and I became one of the top pop artists in all of that ex-Soviet Union territory, 15 different countries, and toured throughout it, and went from being broke, renting an apartment with my co-producer to playing sports arenas.
Well, let me stop you there because um so I'm picturing first I was picturing your formative your childhood years that you were describing, but those were years when you were, 10, 11, 12, something
Yeah,
like that. And so there's that, which is like, a lot to process. Then the fall of communism happens, and now there's all this opportunity, like you said, the land of no opportunity now
yeah,
becomes incredible opportunity. But what was it like in that moment? Uh,
yeah.
like what was it? Just describe what that feeling was of freedom in a
It was
place that was
exhilarating. Yeah.
not your you know native
Yeah, yeah,
land,
exactly.
or just
It was sort of, I think it enhanced for me because I've grown up all over, so I've seen the
yeah,
world. By the time I came back to Russia as a teenager, I've seen Rio de Janeiro, right? I've seen all these
yeah,
beautiful places on the planet, the tropical places. And then I come back to this grayscale, no opportunity kind of Soviet reality, and it was just so depressing. And so I was like, oh my gosh, and you get used to everything as a child, right? You go, okay,
yeah,
it is what it is. And also, I didn't fit in, right? I was this, darker skinned kid who was a foreigner. Everybody knew it, and somewhere in my maybe I was 18 or something. I was like, you know what? I can't fit in. I'll just stand out. And that was like a pivotal thing that eventually really paid off. And I still teach entrepreneurs to stand out when the instinct we have is to fit in and to blend in, and it's the wrong instinct, right? And I
yeah.
was like, I can't fit in anyway. I don't have that choice. I'm gonna stand out. So I would dress a certain way. I learned how I was a break dancer when it was a complete underground kind of thing in the Soviet Union. So I was like this underground kind of guy. You could see me a mile away. And my attitude was, look at me, I'm here, Of course, in the Soviet Union, that doesn't really do anything for you, but it does a lot for you when everything collapses and there's
Yeah.
no gatekeepers, no hierarchies anymore. And you are the bold guy who goes, I'm going to make this kind of music and I'm going to dance this way, I'm going to look that way. And the market eats it up, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was one of the biggest, that was my first breakthrough of, if you define who you are beyond the bland sort of vanilla of your surroundings, and then if you productize your expertise in a way that's scalable, which, in music, it's you record albums and you distribute them, right? Music videos, things like that. That will change your life. So the personal brand insight was really, I stumbled into it rather than,
Yeah.
intellectually arrived at it. I was like, this is crazy. I can write a song in my kitchen or in the subway, and then through a series of events, going to the studio, putting together a record, having a record company distributed throughout like 15 different countries, millions of people all of a sudden are consuming this thing that I wrote in my kitchen, and
Yeah.
it's somehow sticky for them, you know?
Yeah. And a lot of people, when that stuff happens, when fame happens, you play arenas or whatever, that throws them way off. Like, it makes
Yeah.
sense. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a typical,
No, no,
even for
no.
people who are creative, or maybe especially for people who are creative and are very sensitive. And so how did you manage? How did you manage that transition also into deciding to give back, deciding to embrace
It
philanthropy?
was a lot of it was it did throw me for a loop for sure. Like in the probably the first year, 2 years, I became very arrogant, very full of myself, and also you're in your 20s, you're sort of that way anyway, right?
Yeah.
And and then and certain things I navigated really well, and certain things I didn't. So, for example, the drug and sex, like unlimited access, a lot of female attention. I actually navigated that relatively well because I had this very entrepreneurial, very business oriented kind of mindset.
Hmm.
So I would go, for example, none of my band were allowed to get high or get drunk on tour.
Yeah.
Like it was just prohibited, or I will fire you, basically.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a business. This we're gonna be well rested, well rehearsed, and focused. And it was not the backdrop of the rock and roll and pop scene at all.
Yeah.
Like
Not
people
at
would,
that time.
no, I mean, not at all. I mean, you are in your 20s, you are just completely partying it up everywhere
Yeah.
you go, and I wasn't like that, right? And in
Yeah.
fact, I got the people that promoted the shows and created the big shows and events, they would be mad at me because one of their perks was to party with a star, right?
Oh, yeah.
To
Yeah.
access to the celebrity and
Uh-huh.
just have fun and do things. So they would bring like food and drugs and women, and like they would want to create an environment like that
Yeah.
was memorable for them. And I would go like, yeah, I'm not interested, I'm going to my hotel room.
Yeah.
I just need to eat and go, chill.
Yeah.
And so I got a reputation for being a buzzkill, right? And so in from that standpoint, I actually did navigate it quite well.
Yeah.
In other areas, I did not, and a lot of it was actually not had nothing to do with show business. It was just my origin story. I had come from three generations of broken homes, and my parents got divorced. I was very traumatized by that, and I was I was very confused about romance and marriage and love and all those things that were so it had nothing to do with show business, but it affected me. And that's
Yeah.
one of the things that I do a lot with people I coach is we obviously do a lot about high performance in general. Like how can you be at the peak of your career, peak of your capabilities, creativity, joy, as long as possible, as much as possible. But one of the things that we talk about is like there are higher sort of macro elements in high performance and life quality that affect your professional life that have nothing to do with your professional life,
Yeah.
you know? So if you don't have deep friendships, that will affect it. If your family life sucks, that will affect it. That will actually affect high performance in your professional space. And that's what it was with me. I would date women and I was confused because you don't know if they are interested in you or the persona on stage, right?
Hmm.
And there's no way of knowing, right? And where everybody knows who you are, essentially. So, and then on top of that, my parents' divorce, I was like, I would sabotage every relationship. I would be a jerk. I would be a coward. I would basically
Hmm.
act out in a way so that somebody breaks up with me and not the other way around. And I did that over and over and over again until one young lady who I was dating, she got pregnant, we had a baby, and then she left after that and cut me off from my daughter. And that was my reality check. So I was like,
Yeah.
so I was clinically depressed at the same time as I had a number one hit. And that I didn't navigate well at all. And there were other things as well that were maybe less intense, but just character flaws that came
Yeah.
to the forefront with success.
Yeah. And in truth, I think that character flaws come to the forefront for all of us, but not necessarily publicly or not
Yeah,
necessarily,
yeah, yeah,
amidst a lot of the other elements. But, you know, and like you say, people who are young, and then if they experience success at a young age, that is very hard to kind of put in perspective a hundred
yeah.
percent. Like
It is.
you
Yeah.
were serious about business, but you weren't emotionally
Hmm.
mature.
Yeah.
So tell me about, because while you were talking about about coaching, tell me about Exponential. Uh, what that program is, um, empowering high achievers to maximize success.
So we basically focus on two things that are correlated, but not necessarily they're the same thing. One is high performance, is how do you deal with the complexities, the pressure, the stakes that are high, all of those things, and stay at the peak of who you are in your core. And then the second one is personal brand development, and they're correlated somewhat, but they're not exactly the same thing. And so those are the two focal points that we focus on, and we basically we work with experts that want to on the personal brand piece that they want to sort of package monetize their expertise. They want to be
Yeah.
known, and there can be entrepreneurs who want to start their own thing or scale their own thing, or they can be intrapreneurs, people within companies that want they don't want to start a new business, but they want to be the obvious choice for the next project promotion. They want to be known in their fields. There can be socialpreneurs, people in the nonprofit world, pastors, people like that. I mean, it applies in all three of those buckets. It's just implemented slightly differently. The principles are the same, and we basically take them from really wanting to do that to a very clear personal brand concept and a business model within 9 weeks. That's basically the
Hmm.
promise that we make to the people that commit. And then obviously we work with high performance as well, and that could be sort of correlated or separate from that. Um,
Yeah. Um, so these days, Um, and every era is different. We were talking about, the 80s and early 90s and what was going on then. These days, it seems both very appealing and very challenging to be a global impactor. In other
yeah.
words,
Hmm.
to be someone who kind of considers themselves in many ways a citizen of the world, who's been in so many places and honestly impacted people in different ways in different countries. So I know you were just in Mexico City for a little while. What is it like now moving through the world and kind of amidst a lot of chaos, amidst a lot of uncertainty?
Well, one of the advantages I think for me personally is that I think that to me it's so easy to basically go anywhere and connect with anyone
Yeah.
because it's like hardwired into me. I learned four languages by age 9.
Right, right.
So I changed like four countries by age 9, by age 7, and then learned four languages by age 9. So it's like when you're forced to really like lean in and interpret body language,
Yeah.
language in general, culture, and at such an early age, and you don't have a choice, right? This is more like a survival mechanism. I'm so grateful in hindsight. At the time, I was sort of paralyzed and stressed out and, confused. But now in hindsight, I'm so grateful for that because it really created some muscles very, very early on that developed over time to be able to really relate to human beings. And that's probably part of the superpowers that I have in coaching is that I see after a brief conversation, I can relate. I can see probably more than you, believe in you more than you believe in yourself, and see maybe a step-by-step path towards that if it's a good fit. And I can do it fairly intuitively, right? Things that it doesn't come with a ton of effort. I think it's because it was hardwired early on. And the international piece as well, that correlates with culture clashes and,
Yeah.
politics and things like
Yeah.
that quite a bit as well, because I can see. Not that I don't have opinions, I actually have strong opinions, but I can see the point of view.
Yeah.
I can see the rationale why people believe what they believe. I can empathize quite a bit and still have an opinion about what I think from my perspective is the best route
Yeah.
to a better world, that kind of thing. So it's kind of interesting. I usually have this sort of not contrarian, but more nuanced approach to politics, like immigration or the parties or international affairs. And people are looking for like black and white binary sort of judgment. I just don't have that because,
Yeah.
I can see the other point of view, so I have to sort of unpack it a bit.
Yeah. I'm similar in that um I'm always open to hearing another point of view. And I think that solutions come from cooperation, not from
Yeah, yeah,
obstinance or refusal to listen. And so, and sometimes, as you probably experience, depending on who you're with, if you're too open to other points of view than your typical point of view might be, or what your friends or family expect of you, they will
yeah.
think now you're changing or you're changing your
That's
point of
right.
view, and you're like, no, I'm listening. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
changing.
yeah, yeah. You're
Changing
right.
means I now take an action or a point of view that I carry forth that's different from what I had 5 minutes ago. Listening means I'm able to be influenced by something I hear and
That's right.
process it.
Yeah,
And I just think, good things happen when people listen and are willing to hear what others, what others are saying. Speaking of which, what is so what's the I have two questions. One is like a brand question and one is more of a Christian Ray Flores, just
yeah.
you question. The brand question is, do how do you navigate having done so many things and having so many qualities, both academically, artistically, being someone who can do and has done a lot of different things in order to convey to people who the sum total is, you
Oh
know,
yeah, that's
yeah.
that's
So
that's
that's my
the
first question.
oh, that's a great question. And
Thank you.
because it really is the bane of my existence, and I'm sure if you're listening and you're an expert and you have skills and passions, that is so painful and so hard to do. Because you go, well, wait a minute, I'm this and this and this and this, right? And it is so painful. It's literally one of the hardest thing for me to do to for the people that I coach. But because I've gone through sort of the pain of it, right? I can really lean in and say, look, you have to trust me on this one, man. You have to
Yeah.
trust me because I've made the mistakes, right? I have first of all, I have completely undervalued personal branding for probably a decade after I moved on to other things
Yeah.
because it was so familiar to me and so natural that I didn't understand that this translates into other careers.
Yeah.
So, I moved on. I did philanthropy for a while. I started a few companies when I moved to the States like 21 years ago. By the way, I've lived in the United States. I just realized that recently, longer than I've lived anywhere else.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's crazy. But but that's besides the point. So I moved to the US 21 years ago. And when I started doing other things, literally the things that were in my bones, like personal brand, approach, structure, what's your edge? How do you scale this thing? How do you communicate those things? All of those things, right? Were completely ignored by me for like a decade.
Yeah.
And I have no answer why. I'm just dumb that way, right? And it was just too familiar, right?
You
And I was,
associated it with a part of your life that,
yeah, yeah,
that required it.
exactly.
It's like
Yes.
would a pop star have a publicist? Of course. Would
Yeah,
a
exactly.
philanthropist? Not necessarily.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the perception of you, I just did a talk about this about maximizing your success without being famous. Because a
right.
lot of people don't want to be famous. They don't want to be known by everybody, and they don't have to be.
Yeah,
But they have to be known by the audience
that's
that
right.
matters to them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so you discovered at a certain point, yeah, I need to communicate with the people I want to
Yeah,
reach,
exactly. And I
you
didn't do
know?
that for a long
Yeah.
time. So and I was implementing it for other people. So, for example, the first company I worked for is a large nonprofit. I was director for Latin America, and I was at a national grant here in the United States, like 2.9 million or 2.5 million, I think. That it was multimedia. So I implemented all those skills of use a a known personality to do the multimedia piece. So I basically recruited an actor who was in a young crowd kind of hit in a TV series, and he was the spokesperson. And we packaged it, and all of the things that I already knew. I was very instinctual, and it got a bunch of
Hmm.
awards, but it didn't apply. I didn't apply it to me, right?
Yeah.
And then I did the same thing for I hired a production company in Hollywood. I would do it for the artist, but not for me,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? So things like that. And then eventually I was like, wait a minute, like what am I? I'm missing something that is so natural to me. And eventually I went back to, okay, I have a newsletter, I have a podcast, and then but also narrowing down what is it that you do now is super painful. And how to dumb it down with great love. I'm saying that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the audience and the general public, they're too busy to understand nuance about you.
Yeah.
They have to put you in a box whether you like it or not. Who are
Yeah.
you? You know, don't confuse us,
Yeah.
right? Are you a media producer? Are you a church leader? Are you a philanthropist? Are you a writer? What are you? Like you're confused. That's what you are. And you're confusing me, right?
Yeah.
So for somebody like myself and anyone who's entrepreneurial creative, it's very hard to actually accept that and say, I am a high performance coach and a personal brand coach. And I will speak to this public from that standpoint. And it feels initially very limiting and almost like
Yeah.
flat, right?
Yeah.
But the truth is actually it's the opposite. Because once you select a focal point, okay, I'm going to talk about how do you become what you were meant to be in the first place as
Yeah.
a professional, as a friend, as a father, as a human being.
Yeah.
Um, how do you create a recognizable brand that serves more people and attracts people to what you do, and you can serve them well, and they can compensate you for that, and you have the freedom and impact and income to show for it. If that's your focal point, you can talk about all the things that were gifted to you by life within that focal point. You can talk about creativity, which I know how to do. You talk about media, which I know inside and out. You can talk about psychology. You can talk about obstacles and perseverance and all the things that I've experienced in life. So once you have a focal point, nothing of you will be lost, but do have a focal point. Don't
Yeah.
confuse people, basically. Give people clarity. This is how I can add value to your life. And then all of those things will be under that umbrella and will be fully activated. And that's the thing that I think most people miss.
Yeah. Yeah. It is really interesting to listen to you talk about that because that's what I deal with my clients quite often is in the personal branding space, they have an embarrassment of riches. It's not that they
Yeah,
don't have
that's exactly
enough
it.
stuff on their resume. They have so much.
They have too much.
And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
the challenge is, yeah, let's figure out what it all means. Let's figure
yeah.
out what the core, let's figure out why it's all linked together. Let's figure out why you ended up doing all these different things.
That's right. Yeah.
That's the fun thing for me. But doing it for ourselves is still very hard,
Oh, it's very
even
hard.
if
Yeah.
we can do it for other people.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
the last thing that I wanted to ask you was, which makes sense because we're now coming to the conclusion. Well, first of all, tell the audience where to find you, but then maybe share what your focus is right now,
Yeah.
what your most important goal is right now.
Well, you can find me depending on how this is hitting you, right? In two different places. One is if it's hitting you generally and you just want to stay in the flow of Christian Ray Flores, you go to the URL Christian Ray Flores and subscribe to a newsletter that drops twice a week. Sundays free, Wednesdays for paid subscribers. Lots of value there, lots of focus, and lots of the dimensionality that I actually spoke of just now. If you're one of those people that go, "Oh, this is my guy. I need to talk to him. I need to know exactly how he helps people." Go to exponential.life, spelled without the E.
Yeah.
Exponential.life is the coaching thing, and there's a really good assessment there that is free, and it basically asks you like 30 questions about why do you want to build a personal brand, and really sort of gives you the essence of, okay, you're doing really well here, but you need to really focus on this other thing, right? It gives you an assessment in your inbox in about 5 minutes. Really, really recommend checking it out because it'll give you a lot of clarity on where you are in what you need to improve.
No doubt. And then the big finish of what's the most what's driving you right now? What's the focal point right now?
I think for me, it's I would say, how do I maximize the success of the people that are in the program right now in the most accelerated way, meaning collapsing timelines. They think they can get from A to B in 3 years. I think they can get from A to B in 6 months. And it's sort of doing that with a lot of intention.
That's really great. That's really great. Christian Ray Flores, thank you so much for being on Yes Brand. And I wish you continued success, but perhaps even more importantly, continued impact.
Harsh, thanks for having me. It's an honor.
All right.
If you liked the show,
Yes, and
it worked for you,
yes, then
subscribe and leave a
yes, friend.
5-star review.
Yes, friend.
Tell all your friends.
Yes, friend.
Get your branding here.
Yes, friend.
Get your branding here.
Yes, friend.
Did I make it clear?
Yes, friend.
Get your branding on
Yes.
before they're gone.
Yeah.